I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are Velocities of Music. On this podcast, Tom and I discuss a league of topics pertaining to modern music, including artist deep dives and monthly and annual new music wrap-ups. Today's podcast is going to be a little different, short discussion on a topic that Tom and I are very excited about: how to start your own music league. Before we get started, you can help support Velocities of Music. Subscribe to Velocities of Music on your favorite podcasting device to automatically get our latest podcast episode sent to your device for your listening pleasure. Also, Velocities of Music doesn't want your money. We also don't want to introduce any ads into the podcast yet. Right now, all we want is for you to share Velocities of Music with family or friends whom you think would benefit from joining in on the musical discussion Tom and I attempt to create in every episode. So, Tom.
Yeah.
As we said, this is a discussion on how to start your own music league. Well, first of all, what is a music league? I've never heard of that before. Well, I have because I've done this before, but proverbially, can you help describe this?
Yeah, so the history of it to me and the way that it was explained to me was a couple of years ago by our friend Spencer, who had done this in the past, and really what he had said was it's almost like fantasy football for people
for music nerds.
Yeah, for music nerds. Which I don't think it's a perfect comparison, it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point in the fact that it's competitive. It kind of goes on a weekly schedule, and you get to go against your friends and also just help to discover some new music. Right?
Wait a minute. How do I go against my friends? Explain that to me.
So you start by getting a group of your friends together, and that's going to be your league, right? Jake, I think the ones that you and I have been in have ranged from anywhere from 10 to 20 people, right? Every week you submit a song, maybe 2 songs if it's a smaller league. We've been in some where you select 2 songs to submit each week. And the very basics of it is everyone submits a song anonymously. The manager of the league takes those songs and puts it into a playlist. We like to use Spotify because of the convenience of sharing playlists with each other and constructing those playlists both collaboratively but anonymously. So we'd send the Spotify link for a song to the manager of the league. They'd put the playlist together, share it with everyone in the league, and then you listen through the playlist, hopefully several times if you're really dedicated to it. Probably hear some songs that you've heard before, probably hear a lot of songs you haven't heard before, and then vote on your favorites. And by the end of however many weeks you want to do this, I think we've been in 10-week leagues and 8-week leagues, Jake. At the end, the points are totaled, and the winner wins. Maybe you do a buy-in, maybe $5 or $10. Maybe you don't want to do it for money and you just want to do it for fun and bragging rights. But that's the general gist of the game.
So I have to pick out music that other people will like?
Well, that's kind of up for debate, right? Oh. I mean, one underlying idea of Music League is to help discover new music. So in doing so, you want to put stuff out there that you hope people will vote for, but also because I like to push my views on other people, I like to find some songs that maybe will stretch people's listening experiences a little bit, but something that hopefully they will appreciate. I think that all comes down to knowing the people in your league, though.
Yeah.
What are they comfortable with? What are some of their genre biases? What stuff do they like and not like? Jake, you and I have been in several of these leagues and observed really different listening trends and preferences with the different groups of people that we've done this with. Remember the first one we did, it seemed like people were into very modern, poppy, electronic-based music. If we submitted anything rock that came out before the year 2000, we wouldn't get any votes.
Nothing, yeah.
It was very frustrating.
I remember you didn't get any votes. I got barely any, and I was trying my butt off to get as many votes as I could.
I didn't get any points until the very last week of that league. But now, like the one we're in now, Jake, it's I think it's the average age of the person in the group is a little bit older. I think people are open to a little bit more like classic rock, classic country, stuff like that. That's a little older and more established, not just a lot of new music.
Yeah, so if this sounds like a neat idea, something that you're interested in, we want to help proliferate this concept because this is something that I really hadn't heard before. Tom and I joined our first league, and actually the league that we're doing right now that we started a couple weeks ago, Tom, I think it's like the 5th one we've done. together anyways. That and it's the first one that I've ever been like the league manager of. So I finally like have what I would call a very detailed understanding of how to actually pull one of these things off. And it's surprising like how much just truth be told here, full disclosure, this is a ton of fun to do if you're really into music and like and kind of have an open mind, want to discover new stuff, and you're willing to listen to some songs that you don't like, and willing to take on the kind of like the inherent responsibility you have of listening to this playlist a couple times, 2-3 times every week. Aside from that, there's work in running this thing, so it is a little bit of an effort, but it's totally worth it. I've been having a blast, and the thing that we did differently this time, first of all, this is the largest group we've ever had, and it's Tom and I are fortunate enough to work at a company that is totally cool with doing stuff like this. So we have like it's all coworkers, 16 people in this league right now, and every week everyone submits one song. It's an 8-week league, and every week what we did this time is we chiseled out 8 different themes, and those themes are quite interesting. So some of the themes that we're using for this iteration of our music league is we started this at the beginning of February, so it's songs to serenade your significant other on Valentine's Day, followed by songs recorded live before a concert audience. This week, the week we're currently on, Tom, songs that tell a story.
Yeah.
And actually, that has been a very rewarding playlist so far.
I haven't gotten to listen to it yet.
You're going to like it.
All right.
Next week, we have songs where the cover is better than the original, followed by, songs that most people don't know from a well-known artist, songs without any words, songs derived from literature. You get the gist of what these themes are about. I've seen other iterations. In fact, it's funny because like as we started doing these at work, people started spinning off like their own like personal music leagues with their friends and things like that. So a guy that we work with, he is actually doing a league right now where they're doing every week is a different decade. So they do a song from every decade. And I thought that was really cool and uniquely challenging too. So
yeah, you could do genre themes, you could do time-based themes. Right. One thing that I really liked that we did once was songs under 2 minutes.
Yep.
What's the best song you can find under 2 minutes to submit? Yep. That was kind of a cool one.
Now, Tom, I remember the first league that we did, there was like, I forget, like 8 or 10 of us, and we submitted 2 songs each week. And I remember, what we have, like 2 votes?
You got to pick your first, second, and third place.
Okay.
Is how it went. So that was how the voting system worked. Now, there's kind of 2 sides to that. There's the voting side, and then there's the scoring side. And I think that both of those can exist independently of each other. That first league we were in, Jake, there were like 8 people. Everyone submitted 2 songs, so we got a 16-song playlist. You pick your first place song, your second place song, your third place song. That's it. Third place was worth 1 point, second place was worth 2 points, first place was worth 3 points. And then it was kind of a match scoring based system where each week, then from those points for the songs, the person who had the most votes for that week would get 3 points overall. So keep in mind, these points now are different from the points per song.
Yeah,
this is points by
votes,
person. Right. So then that person would get, the second place person would get 2 points for the week. The third place person would get 1 point for the week.
It's kind of an electoral college.
It is.
Almost, right?
Yeah. And then everyone else in the league for that week didn't get any points if they didn't place in the top 3.
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
That sounds horribly complicated.
Yeah, kind of is.
It's superfluous. Like, why did we do that?
Yeah.
Well, this most recent iteration, we've actually abolished that system, and now it's just straight votes. There is a little bit of concern that if you do straight votes, somebody could just run away with it, but we found that people were able to run away with it anyway. So this is an imperfect game that I want to get more people doing this so that we can share success stories.
Yeah,
right?
Every time we've done it differently.
Right.
And learned from it, and it's been really interesting to see, how the voting works, how the scoring works, how the song submissions work, whether to do themes or not. Yeah. That's kind of interesting because we had a lot of weeks that were no themes, so just submit the song you think people will like best, and it keeps it pretty open.
Yep, and this time around, we specifically designed the league to do more specific themes, and we also got rid of that electoral college system, so it's just cumulative votes is what wins every week. Now, the thing that we changed here, and I got to say, Tom, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because I really like how this league is set up, and I actually think we could tweak it a little bit more, but this week, with this league, we have 16 people in it, so you get a 16-song playlist, which I think is about right. That kind of gives you anywhere between an hour and 20-minute long playlist. So if you're going to listen to that 3 times, that's a pretty big commitment, something just to keep in mind. If you want a smaller playlist, probably stop at like 12 people, one song each.
Right.
But what I would say is we moved to 5 votes. So everyone gets 5 votes that they get to spend however they want in this iteration. And with the exception of there's one rule. You get 5 upvotes and you can only place 3 upvotes on a single artist. So max of 3 upvotes on a single artist, kind of making you disperse your votes at least a little bit. If there's only 2 songs that you like, you can do 3 and 2. But most people, what we see happen is they find that like they spread their votes pretty evenly amongst a handful of songs that they like. We also introduced this iteration the concept of a downvote. So you do get 1 downvote to spend on the song that you feel didn't fit the theme the best or didn't do a good job of fitting the theme. So you would downvote that song. And that's been a really interesting mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, the thing for me with Music League, when we first started doing this, we kind of sold it as to one another as this way to discover new music, and I found that I wasn't really finding a lot of new music from the playlist itself. Maybe that was just me, but I found that like I found the most new music from like doing research, trying to find a great song to match the theme or lack of theme for that week.
Yeah.
And that was where I really got a lot of benefit, because what I would do every week in preparation is I would look at whatever theme it was and then try to like find songs throughout all my favorite artists and things like that and pull songs into a Spotify playlist of my own, and then rank them of like how I thought that they would do in the league. And then I picked my favorite one and finally pulled the trigger on submitting that song, and that's been like an interesting experience. But I still have all those playlists, and it's been really fun.
It's fun to go back through those. I think just what kind of person you are will depend, will affect what you get out of it. I think some people will get more out of actually listening to the playlist. But Jake, as you mentioned, some people like you are going to get more out of the actual hunt of finding the songs. I think I'm actually kind of opposite you in that regard, in that I, to be perfectly honest, spend almost no time thinking of a song.
Oh, really?
I try to go with my gut instinct, and I think about it for a while, like, yeah, I think this would be a good pick. And then, if I think of something better, then I'll replace it. But usually I stick to my guns and see how I do.
And how has that worked for you?
Well, I got second place in the last league we were in. But the first couple, I did not do well.
Yeah.
I did not do well at all.
It totally depends on who's in the league.
It depends on who's in the league. But honestly, too, I think I do better with themes.
Yeah.
Because the themes help to kind of provide guidance and restrict what you submit. Otherwise, it's almost too open, and I end up submitting weird songs that no one else likes.
Right.
But when there's a guideline to stick to, I can usually find something that maybe other people wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
But is thought provoking and fits the theme well. So I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah. I've won this thing once, but every other time every other iteration of Music League, I haven't done very well. So we'll see what this time yields.
We will see. I think so far it's actually a pretty even match.
Yeah. Some of the improvements that we've made is we started using Google Forms to submit our songs and submit our votes, and that has really streamlined the process. I mean, it made it really easy to do from my phone. And you might say, is there an app for this? No, there's not yet. I'm sure that one will be made in the near future. But I do think that like you can, the setup for this is really simple. You can do it all in Google Docs, and I would highly recommend. I think one of the best parts about Music League, at least the last few iterations, is having some sort of way to like have a group chat with all the league members.
Yeah. The trash talking is key. It's fun.
Trash talking or just general music discussion, I mean, is one of the most rewarding parts about this. It's all about talking about music and discussing and finding new music, which is something that Tom and I are very passionate about, right? So having like a big chat room where everyone's in it and we can all talk, or even just a text message chain where everyone's on it, like that to me is the real special sauce of what makes a Music League great, especially if everyone in the league is relatively familiar with one another.
Now, one thing I want to point out is you get to vote however you want.
Yeah.
That can be a very personal thing, and especially Jake, now in this league that you've introduced the concept of the downvote.
Yeah.
People can also downvote however they feel, whether you just think it doesn't match the theme, whether you just don't like the song. And
whether you're playing competitively and you're trying to guess. See, you don't know who submits what songs. And so if you're playing competitive, you can say, oh, I really think that, Tom submitted the Ween song because no one else likes Ween. Tom's winning, so I'm downvoting him. I would totally do that.
Yeah.
I'm competitive.
Yeah.
I would totally do that.
I don't care as much about that. I just go with my gut, and I want to give points to the people who I feel did well. But one thing that we've heard in the past is, and I definitely do this, Jake, I think for a time you did as well, we tended to vote more for the songs that we hadn't heard before.
Right.
There were in some leagues previously, we'd get our, maybe 12-song playlist, and 8 of the songs I would already know. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm here to discover new music. Sometimes people pick really obvious stuff. This isn't the kind of thing where if there's no theme, you just want to submit Stairway to Heaven because everyone likes it. The point is to discover new music, and for me, even if someone submits a song I really like, if someone else submits a song that I didn't previously know, and just in those few listens, it sticks with me.
Yeah.
It's good enough to really stay with me after that. I got to give those people credit, and I'm probably going to lean towards that. And what I usually do when I'm voting, Jake, is I'll take that playlist and I make my own copy of the playlist.
Sure.
And then I'll whittle it down as I go. I instead of picking my favorites, I more think, I'm probably not going to vote for this one.
Right.
I'll maybe remove like 3 songs on my first cut, and I'll keep removing until I get down to, for this league, maybe 7 or 8 songs, and I have to vote for 5 of them.
Right.
And a lot of the time, if it comes down to a tie like that, I'm probably going to give the edge to songs that I didn't previously know, because I just think it's inherently more impressive to make an impact like that with a song that I didn't know before.
Yeah, that's why I think the themes are so important in making really good themes. I think that what I've found, and especially like setting this one up, is that it's very difficult to craft a theme. And if I had a second stab at it, I would actually make the themes that we have now more specific, just so it's a little bit more cut and dry, like if you're fitting to the theme or not.
Yeah. Because the themes can be objective or subjective, right? A great point of that, our first week was songs to serenade your significant other on Valentine's Day, right? So I thought we had an interesting conversation in our chat about that one, because a couple songs that were more kind of cheeky pokes at love got a lot of downvotes. One of our friends submitted "I Told You I Was Freaky" by Flight of the Conchords. That got a lot of downvotes. I
downvoted that.
I voted for it.
Yeah.
That got an upvote from, because here's the deal. That theme was not... The theme was songs you would serenade your significant other with on Valentine's Day, not songs you think the average person would serenade their significant other with on Valentine's Day. Honestly, my relationship with my wife is very much based on me being a goofy, kind of creepy and weird guy.
From what I know of you two, that's absolutely true.
Absolutely right. So like for me, I really took it to heart, and I thought, what are the songs that if I was making like a little like playlist to summarize my relationship and give to my wife for the sake of variety and for the sake of making her laugh, which is an important part of our relationship, I would have included that song over many of the others on that playlist. So for me, it worked, but for a lot of people, it didn't, and I totally understand why.
That's kind of adorable, Tom.
Totally understand why.
It also,
if you say so.
It also kind of underscores just the inherent like frustrating nature of Musical.ly, because you get really jacked up about the song you submitted. You're like, everyone's gonna love it,
and then it like tanks,
and then you get like 2 votes, maybe a down vote, and like you're just pissed off at the world. That's Musical.ly, but it's overall like that sounds like a terrible experience, but you actually do like have a lot of fun doing it.
You learn a lot. Yeah, you learn a lot about your friends. You learn about yourself. You learn some new music. It's a lot of fun. Now, some of the other themes we have, like recorded live in front of a concert audience, to me, it's either it is or it isn't.
Yeah,
right?
That's one I wish it was less of a Boolean, and I would actually have made the theme a little bit more specific, like said something about a large concert audience or something like that to make you like have to gauge the live sound.
But still, our colleagues in this league, co-leagues. Okay, I didn't even mean to do that. They found a way to make that more subjective.
Yeah.
Some folks were saying, I'm thinking of it as the concert that I would really want to be at. Oh. Or, I'm taking in crowd interaction into the mix.
Right.
They were voting out songs that didn't really feel like they embodied a live performance.
Where the crowd was participating.
Right.
It added a whole new element to the evaluation of the music.
It did, yep.
But the net result is you have this pretty cool playlist to listen to. And what I like about the themes and what I like about the downvote mechanic is I do think that the playlists are becoming more consistent as we go on and as we get better at actually like hosting these things and putting up some guidelines. If there's one piece of advice I can give anyone out there who sets one of these things up, it's be very strict about your deadlines.
Yeah.
And actually that kind of leads me to my final point I want to make, which is I want to see this proliferated. Tom and I have talked about music leagues for a long time. We've mentioned it on the show before that we do this, and this is the first in-depth look at how to do this that we've provided. And to take it one step further, I want to encourage everyone out there, if this sounds like fun, I mean, this disclaimer, this is not for everyone, I get it, but if this does sound like fun to you and you have a few people in mind that you think that you could get a good league together, all you need is about 8 people. You can even do it with less if you really had to. We're going to make a how to make your own music league Google Drive folder that has like default rules template for you to start with. It has default Google Forms in it. It has default scoring spreadsheets in it with formulas already made, and that way you can go out there. You can start using some of these pre-made forms and create your own music league.
Should we provide a link for that?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, now I've said it, so I've committed. We got to do that.
Yep.
So check out, if you're watching this on YouTube, check out the link in the description. You're listening to this from any kind of podcast service, we'll provide a link in the description as well.
Tom, you got any parting thoughts?
Yeah, one thing I want to mention and reiterate to everyone is that you can do this however you want. You can do voting however you want. You can do scoring however you want. In fact, I would recommend adapting the votes to how many people you have,
Absolutely.
to how many songs are
Absolutely.
in your playlist. You kind of have to keep that proportional. We have 5 upvotes for 16 across 16 songs. I think when we were doing smaller ones, it was maybe only 4.
Yeah.
So definitely adapt it to that. Jake, I think the concept of the downvote is something that some people might not like. I got to give you credit. I'm liking it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I was skeptical.
I want more downvotes.
But first off, it forces you to not take risks as much. Like, because if you submit a song,
it drives people to center.
Yeah, if I submit a song that people actively don't like, previously it just means I wouldn't get many votes,
right?
Which is bad, but it's not necessarily.
I also looked at it.
I
also looked at it as like a feedback mechanism. If you submitted a song that everyone didn't like, you didn't get any votes, but you didn't know if that was because they just liked other songs more or if they actually didn't like your song. So you never got any feedback of like, did you actually submit a song that people liked or didn't like? You never actually got that feedback. With the downvote, you can kind of tell. I mean, if you submitted a song that got 2 upvotes and 4 downvotes, you probably should pick a different song for the group.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting into this always the bridesmaid kind of situation where I'd talk to people and be like, oh yeah, my song was this one, and they'd say, oh, that was the last one I cut before, that I didn't vote for, but I really liked it. And I'm like, well, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. There's an unwritten rule there that like you can't tell people what your song is until they've already voted and you voted. So once you've both voted, then you can talk freely about it.
Because then it's not politics.
Actually, it's pretty funny like how that rule, that's not a written rule, but people adhere to that pretty strictly, and I think that's kind of impressive and speaks to the caliber of people we play this game with.
Yeah, we try not to make it about the politics, but by week 7 it probably will be.
Absolutely.
It probably will.
I'm already gearing up. I'm trying to make a run. I had a poor showing in week 2. Live songs, I submitted a They Might Be Giants song. Didn't work for me.
No, I thought it was a good pick too, but what I thought was interesting about this last week is that of the 16 downvotes across 16 songs, only 5 songs did not get downvotes. No one really got ganged up on. It was spread pretty evenly, which I think is neat because it just goes to show there's a variety of tastes in here.
So, Tom, do you think you're gonna have a strong showing in this music league?
I don't know, man. Right now, I think I'm like tied for 3rd or 4th place.
Oh, hold up. Let's look.
Okay. All right. Yeah, fact check me on this.
I'm fact checking you, buddy. So, Mr. Tom Hummer, you are actually beating me in our current music league right now. Keep in mind, only 2 weeks of voting are in. You have a score of 9 total cumulative votes.
Okay.
I also have a score of 9 total cumulative votes, but I got a couple of downvotes.
Yeah, I haven't had any yet.
You haven't had any downvotes. I got a couple for my They Might Be Giants live song pick, and I gotta say, like that's weak sauce.
It is,
and I can't believe people don't like They Might Be Giants.
We're tied though.
Yeah,
technically,
we're tied.
In what place?
I mean, technically, you are in 4th place.
Okay.
and I am tied for 5th place.
Okay. Though, it's early on. We got 16 people. That's pretty good standing for now.
6 weeks left.
We'll see where we end up.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. I'm not going to reciprocate that.
I'm bringing my A game, buddy. I'm bringing my A game. So, if this is an idea, Music League, that interests you and you want some advice on how to start it, feel free to reach out to us. Tom and I would love to help you get started on your own Music League. Also, if you have other ideas or have dabbled in something like this before, I would love to hear about it. I know Tom would as well. We take these ideas and incorporate them into our next iteration of Music League. I love the how unique this game is and how it can be just tweaked a little bit and have a very different experience based on just the people playing and the rules that you put in place. Thank you guys for your continued support and participation with Velocities in Music. Tom and I love all of your comments on our YouTube videos, your Facebook messages, and your emails to us. Your participation is what makes Velocities in Music possible, so as always, thank you for being awesome. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are Velocities in Music, moving music discussion forward.